Why is it so important that the SNP join the Liberal Democrats calling for this second referendum?
Well, they proclaim to be very pro-European. They want to stand up for the country's place in Europe. But when it comes to the big opportunity, the big chance, the chance that's gaining momentum, they sit on the fence. And it's about time they got off the fence and actually put their money where their mouth was and backed this big campaign for the British people to have the final say in the deal.
But isn't the reality, actually, of the SNP, it's all about Scottish independence, not about Brexit. And actually, if the UK does, well, when the UK Brexits, as we will on the 29th of March next year, that will actually, it's hoped by the SNP, will actually be a boost to their bid to get independence, in which case, why would they want to stop it happening?
Well, that's exactly. You've got straight to the point because they're primarily interested about independence. It always has been. And all these arguments that they are suddenly pro-European to their core don't really wash. So we're calling them out. We're saying, if you really believe in Europe, if you want to get all these people on your side who are pro-European, you're going to have to prove it. But what we don't want to do is compound the chaos of Brexit. I know you don't agree with that, but the chaos of Brexit with the chaos of independence, because we can learn lessons from Brexit for independence that breaking up is hard to do. So therefore, I think we should send a clear message to the SNP, get off the fence, back this deal, or just shut up.
Should we have another referendum on Scottish independence?
No, we don't support independence. We don't want another referendum on independence. We want to focus on trying to get the millions of people who feel left behind in this country a better quality of life.
But the reason I ask you, so you say you don't want a referendum on Scottish independence, but chiefly because you don't agree with Scottish independence from the UK. But why do you think then there should be a second referendum on the EU? I mean, we had a very high turnout, a clear decision, yes, a relatively close decision, but a lot of decisions in politics are, as we see with the last general election result, we don't rerun that general election result until we get what we might consider to be the right answer. Why shouldn't there be a second referendum on Scottish independence, but there should on the EU?
Because we're trying to conclude this process. We decided for independence not to have that, to not even start the process. With Brexit, we started it. We didn't know what the deal would be like when we voted for it in 2016. We don't even know now. And I think there are millions of people in this country who don't want to just accept what Theresa May comes forward with. They want to have the final say on something that is probably the biggest vote this country has faced in a generation. So therefore, this is a democratic way for concluding a big process that's going to have a big impact on our economy.
But you say, we didn't know back in 2016 and we don't know now. Well, if we don't know now, and to a certain extent, whatever deal we get, if we do get a deal, whether it's no deal, whether it's Chequers, whether it's something else, we still won't know what the outcome will be because all the people, all the experts making predictions, well, they pretty much to a man and a woman have been wrong before. The UK economy and the British people have defied them repeatedly, in which case we won't really know until after. I mean, you could argue, tell you what, let's do Brexit, let's go through it, and in 5 or 10 years, then we'll have another referendum if people aren't happy.
No, we know enough. We'll know enough.
We know enough now. So we didn't know enough in 2016, but we do know enough now.
No, not yet. But once the deal is done with the European Union, then we'll know what it looks like. We'll understand how much control we'll have over this rule book, or whether Europe will just decide all of that. We'll understand about how frictionless the trade will be. We'll understand about the impact on Northern Ireland.
And what will the question be on the... We had it very simple. Do you want to leave or remain in the EU? What would the question be in your second referendum?
That would be my preference. It would be the deal versus the status quo, i.e. staying in the European Union. That would be the logical position for me.
Well,
of course,
surely you could argue that we had the first referendum was leave or remain. People voted to leave or by a majority. And if you had a second referendum on this, which would be the third really, because we had a referendum in 75 about staying or leaving. Another referendum this time would be, right, are we going to have the no deal or are we going to have the deal that's on the table? There's no reason to re-ask the remain question, is there?
So what you do need to do is to give people a genuine choice rather than a false choice between two options that damage the economy. You need a proper option because we know what remain looks like because we're living in it.
Well, we don't know, do we? Because the reality is that the EU is a constantly evolving, changing. When we joined the European Economic Community in the early 70s, and then when we had that vote in 75, what we were voting on then wasn't remotely what we have now. We on the contrary, we don't know what the EU is going to be like in the future.
We've got the greatest clarity about what we live in just now, and we should pitch that against the other greatest clarity option, which will be the deal with the European Union. That would be the sensible way to proceed. What we're trying to avoid here is actually an economic damage to our country. We're trying to make sure we protect jobs and opportunities. I think this is the least that we can do on one of the biggest votes for an awful long time in this country. We cannot just blindly go into what Theresa May gives us and this false choice between some no deal. I mean, she's trying to soften us up to believe that the Chequers deal is better than this no deal thing. She's trying to scare us, intimidate us.
So you think no deal is better than Chequers? So we're in agreement on one thing, Willie.
I think neither of them are good, and that's why I want to pitch it against what we have just now, because I don't think anything can be better than what we've got just now.
What about and I would say one of the things that would be better than your people's vote, or losers' vote, or whatever it's called. Well, it is. I mean, do you know anyone? Do you know anyone on the winning side of the referendum who's in favour of a second referendum? No, so it's the losers' vote, isn't it? You just saw losers.
But 48% is hardly a loser. That's a big vote. Millions.
Okay.
You cannot.
Okay, we're going to go back to basics, Willie Rennie. Okay, is 52 a bigger or smaller number than 48?
You're good. You're testing me now.
Yeah, I know politicians don't like maths tests on the radio. Is 52 a smaller or a bigger number than 48? Did you win or lose the referendum, Willie? Do you know?
Come on, of course we lost, and that's why.
So you were a loser.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, right. So look, this is the thing. Okay, do you not think that whatever damage you think there may or may not be to the economy, I personally don't believe there will be. I don't think anything playing out so far suggests there will. Even if there is, the British people were warned about that by pretty much every member of the establishment, the IMF, the IFS, the OBO, everyone with just the initials in their title, told us that basically we'd be facing economic collapse. And you know what? 52% of the country still voted for something which they felt was important for our democracy. Do you not think that the message that would go out to British voters that, well, you didn't vote the right way, we're going to have to ask you to do this again. Do you not think that would be more damaging than anything else to our country?
No, because it's not politicians overturning it, it's the British people deciding. I can't possibly, in the Scottish Parliament, and neither can my colleagues in the Westminster Parliament, overrule the British people. That can never be done. But what can be done is we can put it back to them and say, now that you've seen the detail, do you want to have that say? Do you want to sign it off? And they want to sign it off, I'll reluctantly accept it. But what we cannot do is just blindly go into what Theresa May comes up with, because that would be bad for our country.
But you would accept it, because my worry is, okay, best of three. Well, all right, now we'll go for best of five, and we're just going to keep having referendum after referendum until the British people vote in your way, in your idea, the right way.
No, you're being ridiculous now. I think what's really important is that yes, you are, because this is serious politics. This is about.
I think democracy is serious. Yes, I think that respecting the outcome of the biggest democratic vote in Britain's history, I think that's quite serious too.
Yeah, of course it is, and that's why we should put it back to them so that they can be absolutely sure that this massive change, this massive departure from our friends in Europe, is actually got the proper endorsement. I don't want in 10 years' time for people to say, if only we could have signed this off. Because then we would be sure that this is definitely what we wanted to do. Now that we've seen the detail, we've seen the relationship with Ireland, we've seen the issue and the impact on trade and opportunity and services, we've seen all of that, then we can confidently go forward. Otherwise, I think this will be a sore on the side of the United Kingdom for many years to come.